And then our final combat is the jolly old elephant. So the elephant is still overlapped. So it would be 2 against 5, but instead, because the overlap, it's 2 against 4. Remember, Psiloi do have a quick kill, but not today. That gives us a total of 7 against 9. And so, no, sorry, I did that the wrong way around. No, I didn't. 7 against 9. So once again, the Psiloi are forced to recoil, and the elephant will follow up. So we'll take the Psiloi and move them back for their recoil, and the elephant will follow up. There we go. Moved a few units there by mistake. Thank you. Okay. And well, that's where we're at. Okay, so the Indian main battle line on its left, right flank smashes into the phalanx and loses in every single encounter of the 4 elements involved. Not disastrously. We've got, 3 recoils and a flee. But well, that's what's going on there. Okay, interesting stuff. Okay, Alexander finally managed to get his commanders under control and had 6 pips this time. So what we've had is this phalanx unit has gone into the cavalry. This phalanx group has gone straight forward into the heavy chariots. This one was able to come out on the side here and flank that heavy chariot. The Psiloi that were here were able to run around the back and just about make it into contact here, and then slid over to conform. So they're behind the heavy chariot. So the Macedonians are hoping for great things over here. And then we had Alexander decided to move to the left, so he backed himself out of here and has gone over to this position. And then the Thracian peltasts, the auxilia, have come and formed a group with the knights, or the companions here. And it may look like the light horses have been left to their fate, which, well, they probably have been. They're buying time for the Macedonian centre. But even so, it was one of the considerations was that if the Indians, ideally, they would attack here and they would also flank here. But that would take a total of 4 pips. They don't have to do that, obviously. They could attack there and slide the group sideways. Well, actually, no, the light horse would have to conform with the group, wouldn't it? Yeah, so that would just be 2 pips. But we'll see what happens. So that was the move. So now we get on to the shooting. So as to the shooting, it's very simple. The Indian bows over here are out of range, and they cannot fire on the light horse because the target edge that they would be shooting at is not entirely within 1 base width. Oh, actually, wait a minute. No, perhaps they could. As I understand it, they only have to be able to claim half an edge, so that half edge would be within the base width there to the side of the bows. So they could fire at them, nothing else in the way. So that would be 2 against 2, so let's go ahead and sort that out. And the Indians won that one, so by 1, so that means they are going to, let's see, they're going to recoil. Right. I'll just put a little marker there, and let's go ahead and have them recoil. Okay. Lovely. Okay, and so now in the center we've got 4 against 2. Let's see what happens there. Red Dias Indian as usual. Not good for the Macedonians. That ends up with 5 against 6. So now that is the Indians are shooting back in this particular case. So the the artillery will be affected by that, I would think. And oh dear, that's dark, isn't it? Because I think artillery are quick killed by everything, as I remember. Oh dear, dear, dear. Yes, let's just check that again. It is 5 against 6, so the artillery are quick killed by the bows. So there is right there, first blood to the Indians, as the Macedonian artillery are destroyed, leaving a nice big hole in the Macedonian center. I think I'd probably better push these out of the way so they don't get mixed up in the battle, because most of the battle is taking place rather further back than it normally would. One moment. Okay, so there's our shooting done, and now we get on to the close combat. So I think this one over here is pretty well in isolation. It's not going to affect anything else. Even if they recoil to here, there's still plenty of room here, so it wouldn't make any difference. So let's go ahead and do that one. So pikes are 4 against mounted, and the cavalry are 3. So it's 4 plays 3 over there. Let's see what we get. Macedonians did rather better here. So that gives us 10 plays 5, which is doubled. But cavalry, when doubled, will flee from pikes, which is what happened, of course, over here. So at least they're hindering the Indian plans, but they are not destroying them. Okay, and then we have this matchup here. So in this particular instance, these are overlapped, of course, by the elephant, whereas these are not overlapped. So that's the most powerful one to start with. So we've got 4 backed up by another one is 5. And then the heavy chariots, who of course have a quick kill on pikes. Heavy chariots have a 3, as I remember, against foot. Yes, that's correct. But they're reduced to 2 because they're being overlapped. And of course they will be quick killed because they're being not overlapped, they're being attacked in the flank. If they lose, they're quick killed. So they're with 2. And these up here are with 4, total of 5. So it's 5 against 2, and they both have a quick kill situation. Let's see what we get. 5 against 2. Looking good for the Macedonians. That gives us a total of 10 against 3. So clearly a kill for the Macedonians there. So we will untangle some of these pikes. Just lay that down so we know that it needs to be relocated. Okay, and whoops. There we go. Those are Indians fleeing rearward. And the pikes end up there in that situation. And okay. Now this has improved this combat, of course, because now this means that with the loss of the heavy chariots there, this unit of heavy chariots is overlapped as well as being attacked in the rear. So that means that they would be worth 3, but now because of the overlap in the rear, they're worth 1. So the Macedonians have 5 against 1, and they both have a quick kill. Let's see what happens. Okay. All right, so it's 10 against 6. So that's not a double, but it's a quick kill. So that's all that matters. So indeed, let's just lay that down so I know we're not done with that. They are quick killed, which is kind of what you might imagine if you're being attacked on 3 sides by a potent enemy. And then I'm going to have to measure that off. Right, let's see here. There's my measuring stick. So they... Just trying to figure out where to put the Psiloi back. They would be there. Psiloi. And I think that's what we've got. Something along those lines. Right. So we've got 2 units lost for the Indians and 1 for the Macedonians. Very exciting stuff. And then we have the elephant against the Psiloi. Elephant is 5, Psiloi are 2, but the elephant is overlapped. Doesn't matter how many units are overlapping it, it's just overlapped. So that's worth 4, not 5, it's worth 4, and they're worth 2. Let's see what we get out of that lot. Ooh, okay, let's see. So we end up with 8 against 6. So a good... No, sorry, I'm doing that the wrong way around. Right. It's Macedonians are worth a total of 8, and they were worth 4, so they have 6. Yes, that's right. So it's 8 versus 6. That means that the... Just one moment. Yeah, I think I was a little bit in shock there because the Psiloi have in fact killed the elephants. Right. The reason Psiloi had 2, and that plus 6 is 8. But the elephant, of course, was overlapped, so it was only worth 4. So plus 2 is 6, 8 plays 6, and Psiloi quick kill elephants. The reason I was so surprised is that obviously in the normal run of things, it's highly unlikely that the Psiloi will ever score more than the elephants, but they certainly did here. So the elephant is indeed quick killed. So that means that at this point, pop him back there. That means that at this point, the Macedonians are on their way to a potential victory here. They've lost 1 unit, Macedonian artillery, and the Indians have lost 3. So yes, that 6 pips that that Alexander just used up have reaped a high reward. So we shall see. Well, as we can see, Porus has braced himself to the situation and managed to get 6 pips. So what he's done is reorganize the battle line a bit and withdrawn slightly. He knows that he cannot afford to lose a single unit at this point. So what happened was the cavalry, which had been fleeing over here, has swooped itself around, and also the bows withdrew from there. They're forming a sort of a line. This one is held back slightly so that the phalanx here cannot move down here and contact them on the flank. They're too far away for that. So there's a bit of a battle line there. Then the other thing that was done, this used up all the points because it was 1, 2, 3 pips for that, and then 2 pips to move Porus back because he was in a very vulnerable position there with an open flank as when he was up here. So he's moved himself back carefully to continue to exert a threat zone up here so that they can't be attacked in the flank without crossing through his threat zone. As I understand things, that's not allowed. And also he is in a position where if they had to recoil, they can recoil without tangling up with him, but they can't both do it. So if they both had to, we'd have a bit of a mess there. And so there's no close combat, but there is shooting, and the shooting will be over here. We've got both these units are in a position to fire on the light horse. So the light horse, worth remembering that they have the bows have a factor of 4, no less, against mounted troops. So they're 4, and he's worth 2, but he's subtracted 1 because because the bows have a supporting element. So it's 4 against 1, and the light horse can indeed be, if they're doubled, they will indeed be destroyed by bows. They flee from a lot of people, but they are destroyed by bows if they're doubled. So let's see what happens. So it's 4 against 1, right? Okay, so that gives us a total of 6 against 4. So that's not doubled. So the light horse, they will therefore recoil. So let's go ahead and mark the corner there. Okay, and I'll recoil 1 base. There we go, lovely. Yeah, we've got the light horse has been pushed back, makes things a bit safer for Porus. And we move on to the Macedonian bound. Well, Alexander has still got things working well on a command and control point of view. He got 5 pips this time. And let's see, in brief, the phalanx, this main section here, wheeled forward. Then this unit went on the end here to extend the line. The Psiloi moved themselves in line with the phalanx. This Psiloi unit moved out to here to keep an eye on the elephants to an extent, and then the light horse got itself out of danger by moving out of bow shot, and also moving over to here that it might be able to do something possibly over there on the left flank. So there's no combat at the moment, no close combat, but there is shooting, not from these bows because they're too far away, but these bows here have the opportunity to either shoot at the phalanx or to shoot at the Psiloi. They're going to fire at the Psiloi because with Psiloi there is a chance that if they double them, they will destroy them. So we'll see what we get. The bows are worth 2 against foot, and the Psiloi, of course, are worth 2. Let's see what we get. It's not the gods are not favouring the Indians on that one. We can see that the Indians lost. There's no side effect from that, so inconclusive shooting, or what we sometimes refer to as desultory fire. And that seems to be it for the Macedonian bound. Right, Porus had 4 pips, and so decided to move the bows finally out of the wood here. So that was 2 pips to move them out of there, because they can't move out as a group because they were in bad going. So 1 each, and then it took 2 pips to move this unit of cavalry, which has been stranded over here, basically out of, or rather, it was on the wrong side of a wood from Porus over here, so therefore his command range was only 4, so therefore it would have cost 2 pips to move them, and that's why they got stranded. So he finally spent the 2 pips to move them over to here to threaten the Macedonian flank. And so there's no close combat, but there is shooting. The bows can both shoot at the peltasts here. They can't both reach the knights, so they're both going to fire at the peltasts, which is a pretty lousy shot. The bows only have 2 against foot. The peltasts are worth 3, but they're marked down by 1 because we got support here, so it's 2 against 2 against the Thracian peltasts. So let's see what happens. Okay, and indeed it's a tie. And so even with the 3.0 rules where things happen on ties, let's see. Oh, okay, let's see. Fast foot, which is what they are, they're recoiled by solid foot in close combat with it or shooting at it. They're not being shot at by solid foot, so it's no effect. Yeah, quite a tangled set of rules. There's a rule as far as I'm concerned on that. But anyway, it's a tie, it's no effect, so it's on to the Macedonian bound. Alexander had 3 pips this time, and so unit of Psiloi was thrown up here in front of Porus himself to keep him occupied into combat. Here we have the phalanx move forward slightly and then wheeled into action. But this phalanx unit has not moved into contact with the cavalry, so that provides an overlap on this cavalry unit here. Then the Macedonian light horse, which is around about this position, has continued to work its way to the flank. So those are the 3 pips that Alexander used up. We have close combat, of course, here, and we also have here as well. And we have continued shooting over here with the Indian bows who have emerged from the wood. Okay, so if we start off with the shooting then, same as before, we've got both these units shooting at the peltasts. So they're worth a factor of 2. Peltasts are 3, reduced to 2 because of the support. So it's 2 against 2. and see what we get. And that means we end up with 5 against 3. So the Peltasts have lost that exchange. So not surprisingly, they will recoil. So we'll go ahead and do that. There we go. Okay, the Indian bows pushing the Peltasts back and breaking up the Macedonian group, because this of course is no longer a group because they don't have a level front, as we can see. Okay, so it'll cost them more points to move around. Then we have the combat. So this combat here I'm going to do, it won't make any difference because the elephant won't recoil from the Psiloi. If it loses badly, it will be destroyed. And I think with the general on there, I think I calculated that there is perhaps, I'm not sure, but I think there's a 1 in 36 chance. Literally, Porus would have to roll 1 and the Psiloi would have to roll 6 or something like that. But anyway, let's see what we get for that one without talking it to death. Okay, so pretty average score there. So Porus was worth 6 plus 2 is 8. The Psiloi were worth 2 plus 2 is 4, which is doubling, but it doesn't matter because Psiloi are not destroyed by elephants, as we've established before. So they will indeed recoil, and they will be, of course, pursued. They go back to there. They will be pursued by jolly old Porus himself. Okay, so that's what happened there. Macedonians want to start off with their most advantageous combat, and because these men are overlapped by these men, it's going to be here. Important point to remember here is that the supporting rank of phalanx actually does not increase the factor, because it would increase it by 1 if the mounted troops opposing them were, just looking here, if they were knights, elephants, or sized chariots, but they're none of them, so they don't actually increase the value. So it's 4 for the front rank against what would be 3 for the cavalry. 1 second here. But the cavalry are reduced by 1 for being overlapped, so it's actually 4 against 2, and we'll see what we get out of that lot. Okay, so we've ended up with 7 against 4 in total, so that's not doubling, and I'm sure that's going to mean that the cavalry are indeed recoiled, which will now give an overlap type of situation coming up. Okay, so this could be it. This could be the one. Actually, I thought this through before, and I actually didn't mean to do that, because they've got better, I believe they've got better odds over here, and now they're even better, because the bows against foot are worth 2, but the phalanx, of course, they love to get their teeth into foot, so they've got 3 in the front, and they've also got 3 in the back. So they are in fact worth 6. The bows would have been worth 2, but now because of the overlap, the bows are worth 1. So it's 1 versus 6. So it looks like there's a high probability that this would indeed be the end of the battle. Let's shake those dice up. 1 versus 6. And it looks like, okay, so we've got 11 versus 5, which of course is doubling. And that is your lot, not surprisingly. Phalanx went through that like a hot knife through butter. So if I can, yes, gingerly get those chaps out of there, sort of. And there they go, fleeing back home. Here we are. And I believe the phalanx will actually, for an added bit of spice, pursue. Let's see. They will indeed. So, because they're foot, so they will pursue for half a base width. So that's right about there. Okay. These are all details now, of course, because the battle is in fact over. As we can see, the Indians have lost 4 units and Alexander has lost 1. So this is the 3rd battle in the series of Alexander fighting Porus. He lost the first 2, and he has finally won the 3rd. And we've seen a great deal of action from the phalanx. I think, yes, because there was an Indian elephant unit, one moment, was destroyed by Psiloi, but the other 3 Indian units have all been destroyed by the phalanx. So we're finally seeing the Alexandrian phalanx flexing its muscle on the field of battle. And then we'll have a quick, let's see if we've got any tactical thoughts on now that the battle's over. Once again, Alexander has not been involved in combat. I don't know if I think I'm correct in saying that in all 3 battles he's not been involved in combat, which is not like Alexander at all. But I think I'm probably very reluctant to get him into combat because I don't want him to get killed. But, you know, that's not necessarily a good thing because he is a powerful reserve. But there are 3 elephants out there at the start of the battle that really would like to get acquainted with him. Anyway, one thing certainly we've seen is that with the wood here, is that, of course, the archers went into the wood, and yes, that meant they were safe and all that sort of thing. But, of course, it also means that unless they're right next to the general, they cost 2 pips to move. And, of course, these units here, these 2 units here that were on the other side of the wood, again, 2 pips to move. So they ground to a halt, essentially, probably wondering what their commander wanted them to do. And also... well, this unit back here just kind of got left there because it moves so slowly, and Indian armies, because they have elephants, they have very high demands on their pips, of course. Other things, we certainly find that although heavy chariots can quick kill pike soldiers, we've seen that it's certainly possible for pike soldiers to come to grips with them and indeed to see them off. Other than that, well, if there's anything else, I'll throw it in there.